Hello, it's the Curious Low, back with another Game of Thrones review, and this week we are going to be covering Season 7, Episode 3, The Queen's Justice. As always, I'm going to start out with the plot lines that I think advanced the least, or had the least amazing things happen, and by no means does this mean that these are my least favorite characters. It was just a little less important, and we'll save the real juicy stuff for the end. Starting off, we had Old Town with Sam and Jorah, and thank goodness there were no editing tricks that made me want to puke. This was a very kind of heartwarming and funny at times sequence. I think the most important thing that came out of it is that Jorah is heading up towards Dany, which is going to take him right through Highgarden, which is where the Lannisters and the Tarleys are. I sort of assumed that Sam would be going with him, or at least be following soon after. Who knows, he may still be. There's not a lot of time left in the show, and I don't think he's going to be spending years and years and years there to be a maester, you know, like get like a full chain and everything, which was pretty cool. They kind of mentioned the healing links, which if I can remember, I don't think that they've ever mentioned the chains. They have them, the maesters wear them, but I don't think that they've actually mentioned what they are and what they mean. And so the archmaester being like, many people with links, what was it, chains that are heavy with healing links, like that's so cool that they would mention that, even though they didn't feel the need to explain it. Anybody who's watching and doesn't read the books would certainly be able to say like, oh, okay, healing, people who know healing. But I don't know, it was just a cool little thing. But I think most importantly from this, we have Sam, who's going through moldy old books, which probably means he's going to find another kind of helpful piece of information, which he has already done once this season. Twice actually with saving Jorah, so he's finding some pretty cool info. I'm sure he's gonna find some more in these books. And then, you know what? What if he finds out info about Jon being a Targaryen? I mean, like, nobody knew, but like a few people knew. It could be somewhere. I doubt it, but that'd be so cool because it would like corroborate Bran's info, because I doubt anybody's gonna believe him just because he's like, I'm a robot. You looked pretty when you were raped. Bran, you need to... We'll get to him. Regardless of that, I think that Sam's going to find some kind of interesting info, and like I already mentioned, Jorah's probably going to run into the Lannisters. I don't know if he'll really have anything to do with that, but it's literally like Old Town Road Highgarden, if you haven't looked at the map before. Like, it's right on the way, so I doubt that there's going to be any sort of way that he would make it past them without clashing with them somehow. Next, we'll go ahead and hop all the way up to Winterfell with Sansa and the Return of Bran. I did not expect him to get there this quickly. Last week, I sort of mentioned that I wanted to see a scene of him at the Wall. I'm sort of sad we didn't get to see anything at the Wall, but I imagine with everything that's going on with the White Walkers and stuff that we will see the Wall again. I just love Ed, and I love all the Night's Watch stuff, so I wanted to check in with them, but that's okay. I'm sure we'll see them in an episode or two. But I'm getting ahead of myself. We have Sansa being a really good leader. She's making decisions that these grown men haven't thought of, and sending them off to do her bidding. They obviously respect her a lot. I think that that's really great because, as I have said multiple times, I do think that Sansa is going to end up being Warden of the North, with Jon ruling over the Seven Kingdoms, or potentially ruling just to dissolve the throne, and I don't know, maybe he'll die at that point, but I don't think that he'll end up on the throne in the North. I think it'll be Sansa, because she is the true born leader of that realm, especially since Bran, again, is a robot. Speaking of Bran, again, he has returned, like I said, and is crazy. I don't feel like we got a lot of this last season. I guess we got a taste of it in the first episode of this season with him talking to Ed, but this is like turned up to 100. It's pretty crazy that he's acting this way. I can't believe that he would mention that, but if he really is as confused as he says he is, with like it's all fragments and he doesn't quite understand it yet, he maybe doesn't realize that he's talking about like, oh, this is the night you were raped. He's just like, oh, I have this vision of you in a wedding dress taking your vows and everything. So I'd like to think that that's more what's happening, is that he's just kind of confused and can't really sort out what order things happened in. And him saying that it's difficult to explain, I feel like it's not that hard to explain, which probably means that there's more that we don't know. A lot of people are like, it's not that hard to explain, Bran. It could just be lazy writing, but I'm hoping that it's actually an indication of the fact that, a lot of people have been talking about the sort of weird time travel and the circular way that time works in this universe, that like everything has always happened and will always happen the way that it happened. So like with him calling out to his dad, both times that we saw that scene, even though he only called out the first time, we see at our turnaround and look as if there's somebody calling his name even the second time when Bran doesn't do it. So I'm thinking that maybe he has awoken and realized that he's actually the old three-eyed raven and he's also the new three-eyed raven. I doubt it, just because we have history of that character. But maybe it's like a consciousness that they share. I don't know. I feel like there's something else there, or it's just lazy writing, I guess. Whatever. He says that he needs to speak to Jon, which is very exciting. And it seems like probably not next episode, but the episode after that, we are going to get Jon returning to Winterfell. I can't wait for this revelation. I really hope that Bran doesn't get taken somewhere because, let's be real, Game of Thrones love to do stuff like that. Bran is there. He has info. Why doesn't he just give it to Sansa? So just in case he gets killed off or taken away, he's not going to get killed off. He's got way too much left to do. That Sansa could give it to Jon, but regardless, let's go ahead and move on to everything that's happening down in King's Landing. A lot of exciting stuff happened in King's Landing, and on any other week I would definitely put it in the top spot, but some way more exciting stuff happened over at Dragonstone. So let's go ahead and get into stuff that was happening at King's Landing. We had Euron returning triumphantly with his prisoners, and my gosh, the scene between Euron and Jaime. We already saw some of this in the premiere, but gosh, he is an asshole, and I kind of like it. Unlike Ramsay, where I was just like, I can't stand this person, it sort of reminds me of the way I sort of felt about Joffrey. Joffrey was ridiculous and horrible person, but like Ramsay was like sadistic and crazy. I guess, I don't know. I just liked Joffrey. Whatever. I'm crazy because he was sadistic too. Whatever. I really like Euron now. Didn't like him last season. They've sort of turned him into this like swaggering pirate, and like all the stuff he says to Jaime is just so funny. And Jaime, the acting there, when he's like, does she like finger in the bum? And Jaime's just like you can see the wheels in his head spinning, like, I can't do anything. We're in the middle of, I can't do anything. So great. Just a really small little scene. It's not really that important to the overall plot, but it was just, well acted, and I loved both of them. More importantly, we have Cersei and Ilaria. Oof. Ugh. I predicted it. I talked about this last week. This is what basically everybody, I'm not special. Everybody thought that this was going to happen this way, that she was going to kill Ilaria's daughter as vengeance. What I found interesting was that she specifically talked about Oberyn taunting the mountain and then proceeds to do it herself and not kill Ilaria. Personally, I think that's going to come back to bite her in the butt. I doubt that she's going to be the one to kill Cersei just because everything is pointing toward Jaime in my mind. And if not Jaime, at least Arya dressed as Jaime, or Dany coming in and Cersei kind of murder-suiciding. I don't know. Her and Jaime are going out together, or Jaime's killing her. There's no way that Jaime is not involved. I don't think it'll be Ilaria, but maybe she'll do something that, because she's on Dany's side, she'll do something that disrupts the defense of King's Landing, that then allows Dany to come in. I don't know, but the fact that she mentioned that taunting and not just getting it over with and killing the mountain and then Oberyn would still be alive, really think that that's what's happening here. And I'm so silly, even though I knew she was, I just knew that she was going to kill Ilaria's daughter. I didn't know, I noticed the lipstick and I was like, wow, there's something really weird about her lips. Maybe the coloring on my TV's off, or they did some new makeup this episode. I was like, oh, it's weird. It's pink. Stupid me didn't think oh, she has the poison on her lips just like Ilaria did. But she did. Very poetic. Poor Ilaria, and the fact that she has to watch her daughter die like that, and they can't even talk to each other to have a last goodbye sort of thing, is heartbreaking. And I know that lots of people don't like the Sand Snakes, and I myself have said that I don't mind them. Obviously they're way cooler in the books, we get it, but I don't think that anything in the show has been awful. But that's me, whatever. You can hate me in the comments below. But I think that that's really heartbreaking, to have a mother have to not only watch her daughter die and then rot, but not be able to comfort her, not be able to say anything to her, just to stare at each other. Oh, it's heartbreaking, and of course Cersei would come up with something as sadistic as that. Of course, we had the Jaime Cersei sexy times, which then led to Cersei just being whatever, I'm the queen, what are they gonna do about it? Which is just crazy. I can't believe that we've come this far, that she's out in the open about it and just you can't do anything to me. Side note, do you think all of her servants cut their hair that way now because that's the way that she cuts her hair? Secondly, is she forcing them to do it, or is it more of ooh, this is the way the queen has her hair, so we're gonna cut our hair that way? Anyway, Mark Gatiss is back, and yay, the Iron Bank. We haven't seen him in 2-3 seasons? It's been a while since we've seen anything with the Iron Bank. Obviously, they're bringing him in and this plot in so that we can march off to get some gold. But I think that this sort of evens the scales a little bit. Cersei has already, quote, drawn first blood at this point, and as we see later in the episode, she knocks out some more of Dany's powerful allies. Dany still has dragons, and she still has the Dothraki, and I'm assuming a good chunk of the Unsullied are still alive in Casterly Rock by themselves with no supplies. But this gives Cersei a ton of money and support from a pretty well-respected section of the world. I think that this is very much tilting the scales. At the beginning of this season, it was like, Dany's gonna sweep the floor and just kill everybody. But as we see in the next time on Game of Thrones, she says that they're losing, which is crazy. It's been like 3 episodes. Obviously, the Iron Bank is a little bit distrustworthy since she has no money right now, but like she says, a Lannister always pays her debts. So it'll be interesting to see where this goes. I mean, obviously we have a shipment of gold coming from what happened at the end of this episode, but like I said, Jorah is in that area, and he is fiercely loyal to Dany. If he hears what's been going on and that one of Dany's allies was just massacred, like, he's skilled. He's a skilled warrior and swordsman. He could sneak in there, kill some people, take out something of the gold shipment. I don't know. I think that something's going to go down there. All right. Our final plot line of the show. I put that in quotes because there was just so many things happening in this. It was like half the episode, and it's hard to separate any of them out, so we're just going to start at the beginning and work our way through. All right. First plot of Dragonstone. We have Jon and Tyrion coming together again. I really loved their relationship at the beginning of season 1. I think that both of their characters are awesome and super interesting, and to have them back together, have this little verbal banter, but also this kind of like knowing smile between the two of them, which was so cute, for lack of a better word. I love both their characters. They are both fan favorites, and even though everybody's really been anticipating the Jon-Dany kind of finally they meet up, I loved this reunion. I thought it was a great way to start the episode. And of course, we had a couple of interesting things happening as we walked up to meet Dany. One thing that not a lot of people are talking about is just that they really made sure that all of the guards other than Missandei were Dothraki, which is showing that she still has the Dothraki horde with her. It's subtle, but I like that they added that in there. We had Tyrion asking about Sansa, which is just solidifying that I think he's a really good character. I think he's a good man. And yeah, he can be brash and a little crazy and drunk all the time, but he's overall a good character, and he's never going to take advantage of some poor girl. And I like that he is happy that Sansa is alive and happy that Sansa is starting to show how smart she is. I really liked that. More Jon Tyrion goodness in that scene. And then we had a dragon swooping in right as he says, "But I'm not a Stark," which was a little on the nose, but, you know, still appreciated. Just overall, that entire intro sequence was really great, packed with a lot of info and kind of characters meeting in interesting ways. We had a quick little scene between Varys and Melisandre. So mad that she didn't meet Davos. Everybody was really excited to see Davos kill her or at least beat her up or something. Sadly, she's heading back to Essos, but we do hear from her that she will be coming back to this country because she has to die here. And apparently so does Varys. Ooh, could that have been what he heard in the flames when he was mutilated as a child? I think that that's probably what they're hinting at. It's interesting, but we'll have to wait and see. All right, the most anticipated meeting since Clegane Bowl that never happened, but I still have hope that it will happen someday. We had Jon and Dany coming together. Blah, oh my god, it's so exciting. Everything about this sequence was so great. I mean, everybody has already talked to death the listing out of Dany's names, and then Sir Davos just being like, this is Jon Snow. He's King of the North. It's just so great. That was my amazing accent, by the way. You are welcome. And I love the differences between their two personalities. Dany is eloquent and poetic and very wordy, like overly wordy, but it also kind of works because that's her personality. And Jon is just very curt. He's like, you know what? This is what I need. Here you go. Two very, very different characters, but also two very similar characters coming together. It was such a well-written scene. Surprisingly, with how good this was, it was not the best verbal dueling of this episode, which we will get to a little bit later. She spends a lot of time talking about her claim to the throne, which of course, as we know, Jon actually has a better claim to the throne, which is interesting and crazy and adds a whole nother level to this already interesting and crazy meeting. It's just, I could go on and on about this scene. I love that she says that she has faith in herself. And that is so not Jon. Jon is does not have faith in himself. He just knows that shit needs to be done and these people want to follow him, so fine, we're going to get shit done. It's not about him believing in himself, it's about him believing in his people and what is right. And Dany's a little bit more like, I believe I'm right, so I believe in myself. Very interesting that Jon doesn't want Dany to know that he was brought back to life. It's probably just because he doesn't want to heap a ton of just craziness on her at once. Especially because he's like, we need to fight the dead. Oh, by the way, I technically was dead and am kind of a risen dead person, just like the Army of the Dead is. But I'm different, I swear. I get it, but it's interesting that that info is sort of out in the open, that he took a knife to the heart. Something's gonna come of that, and it looks like next episode we're getting a lot of Jon and Dany together, so I'm sure that it will come up again. And here comes Varys, having just seen a ship. Oh no, all of their fleet is destroyed. It's crazy, but we do see Theon get rescued. I expected him to show up this episode, but we did actually see him returning to Dragonstone in the next time on Game of Thrones, so I think that we're gonna see that sort of like, you know, it was like a leaked set photo of Jon kind of like rushing over to Theon and like holding his jacket, so I'm sure we'll see that next episode. Next, we had Tyrion and Jon standing on the cliff, which again, just so much verbal jousting. Gosh, the dialogue in this episode, I had a lot of issues with the pacing of this episode, but the individual scenes with the dialogue were just fantastic. We had so many great characters in sequences together that we either haven't seen before or hardly ever see, and this was no exception. Tyrion is really trying to be loyal to Dany here and not just give Jon what he needs, but he's like, come on, Jon. Be smart. What else do you need? Which was so great. And then Tyrion, of course, goes to Dany and advocates on Jon's behalf to let him mine the Dragonstone. Tyrion's great. Love that dude. Also in that scene, we had the little dragon riders kind of sprinkled in there. Although, I'm pretty sure in the next time on Game of Thrones we saw Dany riding Drogon. I'm not positive, because it's really far away, but it looked like some white hair going on there. I'm sure somebody has zoom and enhanced the fuck out of that, and we can see exactly who's up there, but I haven't looked it up. It looked like Dany on top of a dragon, but regardless, we're gonna get some dragon riders, and we'll probably get some other people because Dany is too valuable. So I'm excited to see some other people. I definitely think Tyrion's gonna be one, and I'm sure a Stark will be one as well, just because they're kind of the main three families. We have a Targaryen, we have a Lannister, we need a Stark, the Baratheons are gone, so that's who's important. I have my money set on Jon, but I would also not be surprised if we had a Bran warging situation at some point, especially if one of the dragons goes down in the north and becomes like an ice dragon, which would be crazy. I could see Bran warging into that dragon to stop it. We haven't seen him warg into any of the whites before, but it could happen. So many amazing sequences. I was saying with Jon and Dany, all the Jon and Tyrion scenes, just, there were so many amazing scenes, but this scene will take them all. We all know what I'm talking about. It's the entire sequence of the bait and switch and then leading into the stuff with Olenna. Like, I cannot believe that we had 2 major battles in this episode that we fast forwarded through. I think that was a really weird decision. I understand because there's probably more battles and they only have so much battle budget to use per season. Part of the reason why they shrunk it down to only 7 episodes, because they wanted to spend more of their budget on each episode and make it more epic. I'm sure that we're going to have a lot of battle sequences. We've already seen one. I get why they couldn't show them. Still doesn't change the fact that I wish they had more time. I wish they had more budget and more resources to make it so we could have seen those battle sequences other than just a couple quick things, especially the one at Highgarden. I mean, we saw basically nothing. We got a little bit of Grey Worm kicking some butt. He finally knows how to fight in a hallway, but I don't want to get on Grey Worm's case because I'm just glad that he's alive. Like I said last episode, once you've had sex with your crush, you're gonna die. Like, one of you is gonna die. They're never gonna reunite again. But he didn't die. Maybe I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. But they still have to march all the way back across Westeros to get back to Dany, so whew, that's going to be crazy. But the more important thing that happened is that Euron has just decimated the rest of their fleet. I mean, gosh, how many ships do they have left? Like, Jon's, which they've sort of commandeered, and then the 1 or 2 of the Greyjoy fleet that still survived from the Yara Theon side of things. So they've got, 3 ships? I mean, I'm sure they have a few more than that, but it's like they had thousands of ships, and now they have, none, probably less than 100. So that sequence from next episode where she says we're losing or I'm losing, she was decimated so quickly. She needed to sort out her priorities and she did not. But nobody can really blame you for the whole Lannister switcheroo because that was kind of brilliant. And like Jimmy said, he learned that from the Starks, which is Everything's coming full circle and I love it. And our final sequence, the most important one, the crazy, I can't believe that something outshined, for me, I'm sure for a lot of people, Jon and Dany meeting was the best, but for me, I cannot believe that something outshined that meeting because it was hyped to high heavens, and I guess just because I wasn't expecting Jaime to just walk in and take out Olenna. Even through the entire sequence, I was like, nah, no. Jaime's gonna have a change of heart. He's a good character. Like, he's gonna have a change of heart and not kill her. He's gonna let her escape. Olenna's gonna suddenly be a badass and fight her way out. I mean, that would have been crazy, and I actually would not have liked that. But, my brain's just going a million miles a minute. Like, no way is this character that is in my top 5 characters, for sure. Like, at least top 10. She's so great. She's always snarky. She is the Queen of Thorns, and man, she went out like a champ. I can't even process what I witnessed. It was so, so good, and just her waiting until she's drank the poison so that it kind of is like, you know what, if you want to kill me, if you want to torture me, fine. I know I have minutes to live with this poison that's just been introduced into my system, so, I can survive a couple minutes until I die. It's so badass. It's so amazing. And just a quick caveat, I did mention that Jaime was like a good guy, but he did go out of his way to make sure that Olenna wasn't going to die a horrible and painful death. I will grant him that, but I did think that something was going to happen. What am I saying? This is George R.R. Martin. Characters, all the characters that we love die. It was just, that sequence, so good. I really wonder if Jaime's actually even going to tell Cersei that it was Olenna. Like, I feel like he wouldn't take that info to her. Honestly, I feel like he might give that info to her right before he kills her. Or murder-suicides with her. Because he likes her too much right now. Like, he would need to lose so much faith in her to want to hurt her that bad. And I feel like if he gets to that point, he's also going to want to kill her. So, I don't know. Maybe he will tell her as soon as he gets back, if he gets back. Because, like I said, stuff's going to go on down there in the Reach. I don't think that the trip back to King's Landing is going to be a smooth one. But yeah, that little grain of info that Olenna gave right at the end, it's a doozy. All right, let's move on to the next week on Game of Thrones. I've already mentioned a couple of things that were in there, but just to retouch on them, we have Dany saying, I'm losing, which, girl, it's been like 2 episodes. You were so confident. So it's going to be crazy to see what goes on with her. I am ready to see how that's going to turn around. I mean, it's a fair fight now, so at least it'll be interesting, right? We do also see a shot of the Tyrell Gold on its way to King's Landing. We see that Theon's back, like I already mentioned. Very interestingly, we saw Dany and Jon down in some caves, which are obviously the caves beneath Dragonstone, so he's going to be kind of mining that out. But she's down there with him, which is very interesting. I'm assuming that he finds some sort of scroll or cave painting, or like it's something more than just the dragon glass. Like there's gonna be something else down there if Dany's down there with him. At least that's what I'm thinking. I already mentioned that we saw that quick shot of Dany on Dragonback, but I also really want to milk the fact that we see Arya facing Winterfell. Oh my god, are all 4 living Stark gonna be back in the same place at some point? Like, we're going to get 3 of them next episode, and all we need is Jon to finish mining his dragonglass and make it back to Winterfell. Like, and this might seem like blasphemy to some of you, especially knowing me and my love of the Starks. As long as we get them all together, I'll be okay when inevitably some of them die. I think Arya is going to die or leave Westeros and go west, like she mentioned. And I also wouldn't be surprised, like I already mentioned, if Jon makes it to the very, very end of the books and then dies. So I have a feeling that we aren't going to make it out with all 4 of these Starks. But I just need them to all be together, all 4 of them, this little unit, and then they can break apart and go do their other things. I just need a big Stark reunion. All 4 of them together in a beautiful Stark family portrait of beautifulness. That's all I need. And we're so close. Just, Arya, don't ride up, look at Winterfell, and then be like, I can't do this, and then, like, go south or something. Or, oh my god, what if she, like, sees the Hound, but she's changed and she left him, she doesn't, I don't know. And Beric Dondarrion's, like, she has some axe to grind with, like, everybody in that group, so, like, oof. Oh man, what if that's who she runs into? I'm not even gonna think about it. Arya's gonna make it to Winterfell and everybody's gonna be reunited, and Arya's not gonna act like a robot when she talks to Sansa. Oh my god, she might actually act like a robot when she talks to Sansa. Dang it! Why? I just need everybody to be normal and okay. Alright, well, before I have a breakdown, that is everything I have to say about this episode and kind of what's coming up on next episode of Game of Thrones. Let me know what you guys thought down in the comments below, or talk to me over on Twitter, and I will see you guys next week. Bye!